Let's do an example using the steps outlined on the front of this note sheet on how to graph a polynomial. So we have kind of a complex equation here to the fourth power. What does the graph look like? It's hard to know just right away what it looks like, but if you go through all of the steps, we can get enough information to graph a really good picture of it. So step one is to apply the leading coefficient test, and that is to look at the term with the largest exponent, which is this one. 4 is even, which means it's up, up, or down, down with an even exponent. -3 is negative, negative. So that means it has to be down, down. So not going to start graphing yet, but I do know when I'm done, my arrows will both point down. Step 2 is to find the x-intercepts, and that is to plug in 0 for y and factor. So if I factor out the greatest common factor, I'd factor out an x cubed, and I'd have -3x plus 4. So I set each factor equal to 0 and solve. Here I'll cube root both sides, so I get x equals 0. Here I'll subtract 4 and divide by -3, so I'd get 4/3. I'm also going to check my multiplicities. Here is an odd number, and here's an odd number. Odd multiplicities, both of them are odd, means they'll both cross. So I won't have any that just touch the x-axis today. They'll both cross through the x-axis. And step 3 is additional points. And I'm going to set up a table to try to keep my additional points organized. And I only have 2 x-intercepts. So I'm going to do 2 dividers. And I need to pick a number to the left and right of each 0. So a number a little to the left of 0 is -1. A number a little to the right of 0 is 1. A number a little to the left of 4/3 is 1, and a little to the right of 4/3 would be would be 2. So these are all my x values of my points, and then I'll get the y values, and that will be my additional points. You get y values by plugging an x value in for x. So if I plug in -1, I get -7. If I plug in 1, I get 1, and if I plug in 2, I get -16. So those are just more points for my graph. I need everything to fit, so I am going to label my x-axis by 1s and my y-axis by 2s. 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. I want everything to fit on my graph. So now I'm going to go and graph my x-intercepts. So I have one at 0. I have one at 4/3. I have a point at -1, -7, 2, 4. I have one at 1, 1. And I have one at 2, -16. And then both my arrows point down, so I'm going to start with a down arrow, end with a down arrow, and try to go through all my points. So there's a point, here's a point, another point, another point,